Donald Trump has made a move which can be called a clever one. Here's why. Trump is now saying that major Islamic countries should join the Abraham Accords while peace negotiations around the Iran war continue. And this is major because if these countries agree to join the Accords, Trump gets a massive diplomatic victory just before US midterm elections. And if they refuse, Trump will still benefit. He can simply say, "We tried for peace, but they blocked it." This is not just diplomacy anymore, this is political calculus. I'm Maras Joshi, and this is what's happening. First, let's check status of Iran war. The US and Iran are holding peace talks indirectly after months of military attacks. Trump has been saying that negotiations are proceeding nicely, but final breakthrough hasn't come yet. The peace talks are focused on ceasefire agreements, maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz, and broader regional de-escalation. But even as peace talks take place, the US military is attacking Iran-linked targets in the region. US calls this self-defense. Classic Trump again. Military attacks just when peace talks are happening. But there's a big twist here. Trump has now linked Iran negotiations to the Abraham Accords. So what exactly are the Abraham Accords, or Abraham Accords, as the Americans say? The Abraham Accords were signed in 2020 under Trump's first presidency. The agreement normalized diplomatic relations between Israel and several Arab nations, namely the UAE and Bahrain. Morocco and Sudan entered the deal soon. Now, this was monumental because for decades, much of the Arab world and Islamic nations had refused to formally recognize Israel due to the Palestinian issue. Remember, many Islamic countries have always held that recognition of Israel was impossible without formation of a Palestinian state. So when UAE and Bahrain recognized Israel in 2020, it was seen as a massive shift. The Abraham Accords reshaped West Asian diplomacy. Partnership between Israel and Arab countries was suddenly possible in a way that was unimaginable before. When the agreement was signed, Trump hailed it as one of the biggest diplomatic successes of his presidency. Critics, however, argued that the Accords bypassed the Palestinian issue. It was also said that Abraham Accords were an attempt to form an anti-Iran coalition in West Asia. And today, because of the Gaza war and rising anger across the Islamic world, normalization with Israel has become politically even more sensitive. And that's why Trump's latest demand is so explosive. Trump has now told several Muslim-majority countries that involvement in Iran peace process should also include joining the Abraham Accords. In his post on Truth Social, he even used the word mandatory. Trump has named Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Bahrain. Out of these countries, the UAE and Bahrain are already part of the Accords. Now pause for a second and think about how ambitious this is. Some of these countries already have diplomatic ties with Israel in some form. Egypt and Jordan recognized Israel decades ago. But others, especially Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, are politically much more complex. Saudi Arabia has repeatedly said that any full normalization with Israel would require a credible pathway towards Palestinian statehood, which in normal terms means that it is staunchly supportive of formation of a separate Palestine nation. Pakistan, meanwhile, has historically refused recognition to Israel. Islamabad has even rejected Trump's latest demand. But why is Trump pushing this now? This is where things get interesting. At first glance, Trump's demand sounds risky, maybe even unrealistic. But politically, it's an interesting thing. Trump has perhaps created a win-win scenario for himself. Let's look at possibility number one. If even one major Islamic country, especially Saudi Arabia, moves closer to joining the Abraham Accord, Trump immediately gets a huge foreign policy victory. Think about the headlines. Those become campaign material. That becomes television gold. And further, all of this leads to exactly the kind of strong image Trump loves projecting just when elections are around and US midterm elections are approaching. A foreign policy win will help Trump massively. But now comes possibility number two. Even if the countries refuse to join the Abraham Accords, Trump may still benefit because then he can shift blame for stalled Iran war negotiations to these countries. He can argue that the US was offering peace, but these countries refused to take the process forward. That narrative can help Trump justify delays in Iran negotiations, and of course it helps him to avoid looking weak even if peace talks collapse, and that's the key here. Trump may have built himself an escape hatch. If diplomacy succeeds, he claims victory. If diplomacy fails, he already has someone else to blame. And this matters far beyond just Trump or West Asia. Because the Abraham Accords are not merely symbolic agreements anymore, they are becoming a larger geopolitical framework that has anti-Iran element built in it. And this point is critical. So by linking Iran peace talks to the Accords, Trump is effectively trying to redesign the regional power structure just when peace negotiations are happening. This is enormously ambitious but also extremely risky. Because if regional anger over Gaza continues, many Islamic governments may find normalization with Israel impossible. And that means the entire strategy could either become Trump's next great diplomatic headline or another West Asia gamble that spirals into chaos. But one thing is now becoming clear. Donald Trump is no longer treating Iran negotiations as just nuclear diplomacy or ceasefire management. He's trying to turn it into a larger geopolitical reset for West Asia, and maybe a political win for himself at home too. The question now is simple. Will Islamic countries take the deal, or will Trump use their refusal as the next chapter in his pressure campaign? Either way, he may already have positioned himself to claim victory. Tell us what you think about the entire situation in comments. I'm Manas Joshi on Primetime India. See you in the next one.